Welcome to Lore of the Lost, where we uncover stories from the past steeped in truth and historical accuracy. Get unheard of perspectives and discover what life was really like during these times. Listen to the boring history as you drift off into another world. I am George Lancaster, your speaker tonight, and please let me hear where you're listening from and what time it is for you in the comments. Now listen along as we venture into the vast steppes of 13th century Mongolia, where the thunder of hooves echoes across endless grasslands, and the name of Genghis Khan strikes both fear and reverence into the hearts of nations. Batbayar adjusts his grip on his composite bow as dawn breaks across the Mongolian steppe. The year is 1220, and he has served as a horse archer in the Great Khan's army for 7 winters now. At 26 years old, his weathered hands bear the calluses of countless hours spent drawing bowstrings and gripping reins. His deal, a traditional long robe made of thick felt and leather, protects him from the biting wind that sweeps endlessly across these grasslands. Around him, thousands of other mounted warriors stir in the pre-dawn darkness, their horses snorting white clouds into the frigid air. Batbayar's life revolves entirely around his horse, his bow, and his unwavering loyalty to the Khan, who united the fractured Mongol tribes into the most formidable military force the world has ever known. The morning routine begins before sunrise, as it always has in Batbayar's nomadic world. He checks his horse's legs for injuries, running experienced hands along the sturdy bones of his Mongolian mount. These horses, though small by the standards of European war horses, possess incredible endurance and can survive on sparse grass where other breeds would perish. Batbayar's horse stands barely 14 hands high but can carry him over 100 miles in a single day. He inspects the leather straps of his saddle, ensuring the wooden frame remains secure. The saddle's high cantle and pommel allow him to remain stable while shooting arrows at full gallop. His horse stamps impatiently, sensing the familiar rhythm of preparation that precedes another day of relentless movement across the endless steppe. Breakfast consists of dried mutton and mare's milk cheese, washed down with ayrag, fermented mare's milk that provides both nutrition and mild intoxication. Batbayar carries these provisions in leather pouches attached to his saddle, along with dried millet and barley. The Mongol army travels with minimal supply lines, living off the land and their herds. Each warrior maintains a string of horses, typically 3 to 5 animals, allowing them to switch mounts regularly and maintain their incredible pace of advance. Batbayar checks his spare horses, ensuring they remain healthy and ready. The weaker animals are often slaughtered for food, rather than allowed to slow the army's progress. This harsh pragmatism characterizes every aspect of Mongol military life, where survival and victory take precedence over sentiment or comfort. As the army begins its daily march, Batbayar takes his position within the Tumen, a unit of 10,000 warriors organized with mathematical precision. The Mongol military structure follows a decimal system. 10 warriors form an arban. 10 arbans create a jagun of 100. 10 jaguns make a mingan of 1,000, and 10 mingans comprise a tumen. This organization allows for remarkable coordination across vast distances. Batbayar serves in the 5th arban of the 3rd jagun, under commanders he has known since childhood. The Mongols promote based on merit rather than birth, and many of his officers rose from humble herder families. This meritocracy creates fierce loyalty and ensures competent leadership. The army moves in a formation that can stretch for miles, with scouts ranging far ahead to gather intelligence about terrain, weather, and enemy movements. The composite bow represents the pinnacle of 13th century military technology, and Batbayar treats his weapon with reverence bordering on worship. Crafted from horn, sinew, and wood, the bow requires years to properly cure and season. Horn from water buffalo or yak forms the belly, providing compression strength, while sinew from deer or elk creates the backing that handles tension. Birch wood forms the core, carefully shaped and seasoned. The entire construction is bound with silk thread and sealed with lacquer made from tree sap. Batbayar's bow can drive an arrow through chainmail at 200 paces, and he can accurately hit targets while riding at full gallop. He carries 60 arrows in his quiver, with different points designed for various purposes. Bodkins for armor, broadheads for unprotected targets, and whistling arrows for signaling across the battlefield. The daily practice of archery continues even during long marches, as Mongol warriors shoot at targets of opportunity along their route. Batbayar and his companions engage in constant competitions, wagering on their ability to hit rocks, trees, or small animals from horseback. This perpetual training maintains their skills at peak efficiency, while providing entertainment during monotonous travel. The Mongol draw technique differs from European methods, using a thumb ring made of horn or bone to protect the digit and allow for rapid shooting. Batbayar can loose 12 aimed arrows in a minute, a rate of fire that devastates enemy formations before they can close to melee range. Young warriors learn this technique from childhood, developing the necessary muscle memory and strength through years of practice with progressively more powerful bows. Navigation across the featureless steppe requires skills passed down through generations of nomadic herders. Batbayar reads the subtle signs that guide Mongol armies across thousands of miles with remarkable accuracy. He observes the direction of grass growth, noting how prevailing winds shape the vegetation. Star patterns provide nighttime guidance, while the sun's position indicates direction during daylight hours. The behavior of birds and animals offers clues about water sources and weather changes. Mongol scouts possess an almost supernatural ability to find their way across terrain that appears identical to outsider eyes. They memorize landmarks separated by vast distances, creating mental maps that span continents. This navigational expertise allows Mongol armies to appear seemingly from nowhere, striking targets that believed themselves protected by geographic barriers. The army's remount system represents one of the most sophisticated logistical achievements in military history. Each warrior maintains multiple horses, but the army also travels with vast herds of spare mounts, numbering in the hundreds of thousands. Batbayar helps manage these herds during rest periods, ensuring the animals receive adequate grazing and water. Horseholders, often young men not yet proven in battle, specialize in animal management. The Mongols castrate most male horses, keeping only the finest stallions for breeding, creating more manageable and less aggressive mounts. Mares provide milk throughout the campaign, offering a renewable food source. When horses become too weak or injured to continue, they are slaughtered for meat. This constant cycling of animals allows the army to maintain its incredible mobility across vast distances that would exhaust conventional cavalry forces. Weather on the steppe changes with terrifying suddenness, and Batbayar has learned to read the subtle signs that precede dangerous storms. Dark clouds building on the horizon can bring blizzards that kill the unprepared within hours. The Mongols dress in layers, adding or removing clothing as conditions change. Beneath his deal, Batbayar wears a silk shirt that helps prevent arrows from penetrating deeply into wounds, as the smooth fabric wraps around arrowheads rather than tearing. Over the deal, he adds a leather coat reinforced with iron plates when battle approaches. His pointed cap, made of felt and fur, protects against both weather and glancing blows. Mongol clothing prioritizes function over appearance, designed for survival in one of the world's harshest environments, while maintaining the mobility essential for their fighting style. The Mongol intelligence network rivals their military organization in sophistication and efficiency. Batbayar often encounters merchants, diplomats, and spies who provide detailed information about enemy territories long before the army arrives. The Mongols cultivate relationships with traders who travel the Silk Road, gathering intelligence about distant cities, their defenses, political situations, and economic resources. They employ local guides and interpreters, often coercing cooperation through a combination of threats and rewards. Captured enemies provide information under interrogation, while refugees fleeing Mongol advances unwittingly reveal details about their destinations. This intelligence allows Mongol commanders to plan campaigns with remarkable precision, knowing the strength and disposition of enemy forces, the location of supply depots, and the most vulnerable approaches to fortified positions. Knowledge becomes as important as arrows in the Mongol arsenal. Siege warfare requires the Mongols to adapt their traditional mobility-based tactics to the demands of attacking fortified positions. Batbayar participates in the construction of siege engines, though this work falls outside his expertise as a horse archer. The Mongols typically employ Chinese and Persian engineers, along with conscripted local craftsmen, to build catapults, trebuchets, and other siege equipment. They surround enemy cities completely, preventing escape or resupply, while their engineers work to breach the walls. Psychological warfare plays a crucial role, as the Mongols deliberately spread stories of their brutality to encourage surrender. Cities that submit immediately often receive relatively lenient treatment, while those that resist face complete destruction. Batbayar has witnessed the aftermath of successful sieges, where entire populations are killed or enslaved, their cities reduced to rubble as examples to others who might consider resistance. The decimal military organization extends beyond simple battlefield formations to encompass every aspect of Mongol society during wartime. Batbayar's Arban functions as both a military unit and a social group, with members sharing resources, information, and responsibilities. When one warrior falls ill or suffers injury, his companions care for his horses and equipment. The Arban collectively own certain resources, including spare weapons, tools, and emergency food supplies. Discipline within the unit is harsh but fair, with punishments ranging from reduced rations to execution for serious offenses like cowardice or desertion. The success or failure of individual members reflects on the entire group, creating powerful incentives for mutual support and excellence. This system transforms the army from a mere collection of warriors into a unified organism capable of coordinated action across vast distances and extended periods. Mongol religious practices blend shamanism, ancestor worship, and pragmatic tolerance for the beliefs of conquered peoples. Batbayar carries small amulets and charms blessed by shamans, believing they provide protection in battle and guidance during difficult decisions. The Mongols worship Tengri, the eternal blue sky, along with various spirits associated with natural features like mountains, rivers, and forests. Before major battles, shamans perform divination rituals using sheep shoulder bones, interpreting cracks and patterns to predict outcomes. The Mongols generally allow conquered peoples to maintain their religious practices, recognizing that spiritual oppression often leads to rebellion. This tolerance extends to recruiting religious leaders as administrators and advisors. Batbayar has served alongside Christian, Muslim, and Buddhist warriors, all united under the banner of the Great Khan, despite their different beliefs and customs. The Mongol communication system enables coordination across an empire that spans continents through an intricate network of messengers and signal systems. Batbayar occasionally serves as a courier, carrying messages between different units or back to the main army. The YAM system establishes relay stations at regular intervals, where messengers can change horses and rest before continuing their journeys. These stations stock fresh mounts, food, and equipment, allowing critical information to travel hundreds of miles per day. Signal fires on hilltops convey simple messages across long distances, while whistling arrows communicate basic commands during battle. Drums and horns coordinate movements within visual range. The Mongols also employ captured pigeons for carrying messages, though this practice is less reliable than human couriers. Effective communication allows widely separated Mongol forces to coordinate complex maneuvers and respond rapidly to changing situations. Combat formations reflect centuries of steppe warfare experience, refined through constant practice and adaptation. Batbayar typically fights in the Mangudai, a feigned retreat tactic that draws enemy forces into ambushes. The Mongols pretend to flee in disorder, encouraging pursuit, then wheel suddenly to surround and destroy their overconfident enemies. This maneuver requires exceptional horsemanship and discipline, as warriors must maintain formation while appearing to retreat in panic. The composite bow's range advantage allows Mongol forces to inflict casualties while remaining beyond the reach of enemy weapons. Heavy cavalry charges, devastating against infantry, prove ineffective against the mobile Mongol horse archers who simply retreat, shooting backwards over their horses' rumps. Batbayar has participated in battles where enemy knights, weighed down by armor, exhaust their horses in futile pursuit, while Mongol arrows thin their ranks. Psychological warfare represents a crucial component of Mongol strategy, often achieving victory before battles begin. Batbayar has witnessed the terror that Mongol armies inspire in their enemies as stories of their brutality spread faster than the armies themselves. The Mongols deliberately cultivate their fearsome reputation, displaying the heads of defeated enemies and completely destroying cities that resist. They spread false information about their numbers, often appearing much larger than their actual strength through the use of dummy riders and extra horses. Refugees fleeing Mongol advances carry tales of atrocities to their destinations, weakening morale and encouraging surrender. The Mongols also employ captured enemy soldiers to spread disinformation and propaganda. This psychological dimension of warfare reduces actual fighting, as many enemies surrender or flee rather than face the legendary Mongol war machine. Fear becomes as effective as arrows in achieving Mongol objectives. The logistics of feeding a massive army on the move require careful planning and ruthless efficiency. Batbayar's unit forages constantly, supplementing official rations with whatever the land provides. Mare's milk provides protein and vitamins, while dried meat offers concentrated nutrition for extended periods. The Mongols consume every part of slaughtered animals, wasting nothing in their harsh environment. Blood mixed with milk creates a nutritious drink, while organs provide essential nutrients, often lacking in dried provisions. Hunting provides fresh meat when available, though large armies quickly exhaust local game populations. The Mongols also practice a form of biological warfare, driving herds of animals ahead of their armies to spread disease and consume enemy crops. Captured grain stores supplement their diet, while local populations are forced to provide tribute in the form of food and livestock. Mongol medical knowledge combines traditional steppe remedies with practices learned from conquered civilizations. Batbayar carries basic medical supplies, including bandages made from silk, which helps prevent infection in arrow wounds. Mongol warriors learn to treat common injuries like cuts, bruises, and broken bones through practical experience and oral tradition. Shamans serve as healers, using herbs, chants, and ritual practices to treat illness and injury. The Mongols also employ captured physicians from China, Persia, and other advanced civilizations, learning new techniques and remedies. Cauterization with heated metal stops bleeding from serious wounds, while fermented mare's milk is believed to prevent infection. Many Mongol remedies prove surprisingly effective, developed through centuries of trial and error in harsh conditions where medical mistakes often prove fatal. The army's mobility means that seriously wounded warriors are often left behind. A harsh reality of steppe warfare. Weapons maintenance requires constant attention in the harsh steppe environment, where equipment failure can mean death. Batbayar spends time each evening checking his bow for cracks or damage, applying oils and lacquers to preserve the wood, horn, and sinew components. Arrows require frequent inspection and repair, as damaged fletching or bent shafts compromise accuracy. He carries tools for basic repairs, including spare bowstrings made from twisted sinew, arrowheads of various types, and materials for fletching replacement. His saber, though secondary to his bow, receives careful maintenance to prevent rust and maintain its sharp edge. Mongol warriors take pride in their equipment, understanding that their lives depend on properly functioning weapons. The army includes specialized craftsmen who can perform more complex repairs, but individual warriors must handle routine maintenance themselves. Quality weapons represent significant investments, often passed down through generations or captured from defeated enemies. The Mongol legal system, known as the yasa, governs every aspect of military and civilian life with harsh but consistent justice. Batbayar lives under laws that apply equally to all Mongols, regardless of birth or status, though penalties often vary based on rank and circumstances. Theft of horses, the most serious crime in Mongol society, carries a death sentence. Desertion during battle results in execution, while cowardice brings public shame and reduced status. The yasa also mandates religious tolerance, protection of envoys, and care for widows and orphans. Punishments are swift and public, serving as deterrents to others. The code emphasizes collective responsibility, making entire units accountable for the actions of individual members. This legal framework creates order within the army while maintaining the flexibility necessary for rapid movement and changing circumstances. Batbayar understands that violating the yasa brings not only personal punishment, but also shame upon his family and unit. Mongol marriage customs adapt to the demands of military life, with many warriors maintaining families despite constant campaigning. Batbayar married before joining the army, and his wife travels with the baggage train along with other military families. Mongol women possess considerable freedom and responsibility compared to their counterparts in sedentary civilizations, managing households and herds while their husbands campaign. They can own property, engage in trade, and participate in religious ceremonies. Some women even serve as warriors, though this remains uncommon. Polygamy is practiced among wealthy Mongols, but most warriors like Batbayar can afford only one wife. Children learn riding and archery from an early age, preparing for their future roles as warriors or herders. The extended family structure provides support during the hardships of military life, with relatives caring for children when parents are killed or injured. Trade and commerce continue even during military campaigns, as Mongol armies encounter merchants and trading posts throughout their territories. Batbayar sometimes trades captured goods or personal items for supplies, weapons, or luxuries not available through military channels. The Mongols generally protect merchants who pay tribute and provide useful services, recognizing trade as a source of wealth and information. Silk, spices, precious metals, and crafted goods flow along routes secured by Mongol military power. The army's needs create markets for horses, weapons, food, and other supplies, stimulating economic activity in conquered territories. Mongol warriors often supplement their official pay through trading activities, selling captured goods or providing services to merchants. This commercial dimension of military life helps maintain morale and provides incentives for continued service beyond mere loyalty to the Khan. The changing seasons bring different challenges and opportunities for Mongol armies operating across vast territories. Batbayar has learned to adapt his tactics and equipment to summer heat, winter cold, spring floods, and autumn storms. Summer campaigns take advantage of abundant grass for horses and longer daylight hours for travel and combat. Winter warfare requires different clothing, tactics, and logistics, though frozen rivers often provide convenient highways for rapid movement. Spring brings mud and flooding that can bog down armies, while autumn offers the last opportunities for major campaigns before winter sets in. The Mongols time their campaigns to coincide with optimal weather conditions, often spending winters in conquered territories or returning to their homeland. Seasonal changes affect everything from horse breeding to food preservation, requiring constant adaptation and planning. Mongol engineering capabilities extend far beyond their reputation as simple nomadic warriors, encompassing sophisticated siege techniques and infrastructure projects. Batbayar participates in bridge construction, road building, and fortification work when circumstances require. The Mongols conscript engineers and craftsmen from conquered territories, learning new techniques and technologies. They adapt Chinese siege engines, Persian irrigation systems, and European metallurgy to their own needs. Mongol armies can construct pontoon bridges across major rivers, build roads through mountain passes, and create fortified camps with remarkable speed and efficiency. This engineering expertise enables them to overcome geographic obstacles that would stop conventional armies. The combination of nomadic mobility with advanced engineering creates a military force capable of operating effectively in any terrain or climate, from the steppes of Mongolia to the deserts of Central Asia and the forests of Eastern Europe. Cultural exchange occurs constantly as Mongol armies encounter diverse peoples and civilizations throughout their conquests. Batbayar has learned phrases in Chinese, Persian, Arabic, and several Turkic languages, essential for communicating with allies, enemies, and civilian populations. The Mongols adopt useful practices from conquered peoples while maintaining their core identity and values. They learn new military techniques, administrative systems, and technologies, integrating the best elements into their own culture. This cultural flexibility contributes to Mongol success, as they can adapt to local conditions while maintaining their military advantages. Intermarriage between Mongols and subject peoples creates bonds that help stabilize conquered territories. The Mongol Empire becomes a conduit for cultural exchange on an unprecedented scale, spreading ideas, technologies, and practices across continents. Batbayar's worldview expands through exposure to different peoples and customs. though he remains fundamentally Mongol in his identity and loyalties. Discipline within Mongol armies combines harsh punishment with strong incentives for excellence and loyalty. Batbayar understands that success in battle brings rewards, including captured goods, promotion opportunities, and increased status within the military hierarchy. The Mongols distribute loot according to established formulas, with shares determined by rank and contribution to victory. Outstanding warriors receive recognition and advancement, while those who fail in their duties face punishment or disgrace. Collective responsibility means that entire units share in both rewards and punishments, creating powerful incentives for mutual support and excellence. Mongol commanders lead by example, sharing the hardships and dangers faced by their subordinates. This combination of strict discipline with fair treatment creates armies that remain cohesive and effective even under extreme stress. The prospect of wealth and glory motivates warriors to endure the hardships of campaign life. The vast scale of Mongol military operations requires sophisticated coordination and planning that extends far beyond individual battles or campaigns. Batbayar serves in armies that operate as part of empire-wide strategies involving multiple fronts and complex diplomatic maneuvers. Intelligence gathered in one theater influences operations thousands of miles away, while resources flow between different regions to support strategic objectives. The Mongols coordinate simultaneous campaigns against multiple enemies, preventing them from forming effective alliances. This grand strategic approach requires long-term planning and exceptional organizational abilities. Mongol leaders think in terms of decades rather than seasons, building an empire designed to last for generations. The individual warrior's role, while important, represents just one small part of this vast enterprise. Understanding this larger context helps Batbayar maintain perspective during difficult periods and reinforces his commitment to the greater Mongol cause. As evening approaches and the army prepares to make camp, Batbayar reflects on another day in service to the great Khan. The sun sets behind him as his unit rides eastward, casting long shadows across the endless grassland that has shaped Mongol civilization for countless generations. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new enemies, and new opportunities for glory and advancement. His horse's steady rhythm beneath him provides comfort and reassurance, a familiar constant in a life of perpetual motion and change. The composite bow across his back represents not just a weapon, but a way of life that has carried the Mongols from obscure tribal origins to mastery over the largest contiguous empire in human history. In this moment, surrounded by his brothers-in-arms under the vast Mongol sky, Batbayar embodies the spirit of a people who transformed the medieval world through their unmatched combination of mobility, discipline, and adaptability. A warrior whose daily existence reveals the true foundations of Mongol power and the authentic rhythm of life in Genghis Khan's unstoppable war machine.